Welcome to Exploring Alaskan Native Voices, a show about the evolving character of Alaska Indigenous life in a world society. As this song says, come together, all as one.
You are about to take a journey of discovery of wildlife, geographic beauty, history, and native culture. Sit back and come with us to a coastal Alaskan cornucopia of a world that is a part of all of us. Valdez, Alaska is a little fish in a big pond. But don't let its size mislead you. Besides being a harbor that is a gateway to Prince William Sound, one of the most scenic places on Earth, it offers treasures to discover. Consider this. Valdez, a town that you can walk across in a matter of minutes, offers a college, a museum of renown, and an annual National Theater Conference. Oh, and you can still go fishing, halibut, salmon, you know, the average Alaskan fare. The big pond where Valdez is located is called Prince William Sound at the northern end of the Gulf of Alaska. This spectacular body of water encompasses 15,000 square miles and exhibits crystal blue glaciers, high mountains, lush forests, and thousands of bays and islands. It is also home to many species of marine wildlife and seabirds. Whale watching is also another unique opportunity offered from many of the available cruise boats operating out of Valdez. You may even see doll porpoises, which are small toothed whales and often confused with killer whales due to their black and white markings. And where else other than Alaska can you get a sunburn while watching a mountain of ice melt? Columbia Glacier is one of the scene stealers of Prince William Sound and is one of the largest and most magnificent of the tidewater glaciers along the Alaskan coast. It is also considered a speed demon in the world of glaciers, receding 80 to 115 feet a day. Since 1982, it has receded more than 6 miles, but is still over 30 miles in length, 3 miles wide, and in some places more than 3,000 feet thick. Seeing a glacier calve is an experience you should not miss in your lifetime. Imagine seeing ice cubes the size of a 4 or 5-story house taking a dive into the crystal blue waters of Prince William Sound. You can see the Columbia Glacier's terminus 6 miles away, but your tour boat takes you much closer based on iceberg production. Jim and Nancy Lethko are authors of 11 guidebooks and natural history books on Prince William Sound. For over 20 years, they have guided and charted trips in the Sound.
Well, we started sailing in Prince William Sound about 1969, and at that time there were no other sailboats in this area. In fact, we were told that you couldn't sail in this area because it was too cold, it was too windy, it was too rough, and it turns out it's exactly the opposite. Prince William Sound is such a gentle place in the summertime. Sometimes we have a hard time finding enough wind to sail. Now in the wintertime it's quite different. The Aleutian Low dominates this area and we have horrendous storms out here. We have hurricane force winds several times during an average winter. So the winters and the summers in Prince William Sound are quite different. The summers are very, very gentle and the winters can be quite wild. The reason we have these glaciers here is not because it's so cold, because it's not. It's because that the mountains are so high, and it's so cold high up on the mountains, and these mountains catch the storms coming in from the Pacific Ocean, and all this precipitation falls as snow on the upper reaches and then flow down the mountainsides as ice. So the reason the glaciers are here are not because it's cold at sea level, but because it's so cold high up in the mountains. The ice field that feeds Columbia Glacier goes clear up behind Valdez, 30 miles, so it's a huge ice field. Columbia Glacier is really unique in that it's undergoing a drastic retreat. In the last 20 years, Columbia Glacier has receded 8 miles. In other words, 8 miles of new fjord have been created in the last 20 years. And this is phenomenal in terms of a geological timescale. In geology, we usually measure events in the matter of millions of years. And here, in a couple of decades, we have a whole new fjord 8 miles long that has been created. So it's an amazing thing.
In 1790, the Spanish cartographer, Lieutenant Salvador Fidalgo, explored the sound guided by two natives. The group did not stay long near the glacier, concluding that it was an active volcano because of the loud thunder and great pieces of snow being flung from it. Not many lived in Valdez area until the winter of 1897-98, when gold seekers came to Valdez to follow the all-American route over the Valdez Glacier into the interior. Some planned to prospect in the Copper River Basin. Others planned to continue on to the Klondike. The route was based on an inaccurate description by U.S. Army Lieutenant William Abercrombie of a trail that he quite probably had never actually traversed during the course of his 1984 Copper River expedition. Nonetheless, the route was advertised all over the continental United States as an established, pre-existing trail. It was a great surprise, therefore, to the would-be miners to arrive in Valdez and find no town and no real trail. A tent city sprang up at the head of the bay, and thus Valdez was formed. 4,000 stampeders came through Valdez that year. Some stampeders stayed on shore to set up shops and other businesses. Others tested their luck and hauled their gear up and over the glacier on Johnson Pass. The glacier trip was tough sledding. Some people died in the attempt. Snow slides, snow blindness, glacial crevasses, and extreme physical challenges were just some of the problems. Supplies of goods had to be transported on people-pulled sleds. As many as 20 trips back and forth over the steepest legs of the journey were needed in order to get the necessary year's worth of supplies across. The following winter of 1898-99 was long and difficult. Huge numbers suffered from scurvy and inadequate supplies. Rescue missions were organized by prospectors to move sick people out of the interior and back to relief cabins in Valdez. In the late summer and fall of 1898, Abercrombie's men had begun cutting a rough trail through Keystone Canyon and over Thompson Pass. The following spring, the Army approved that route as a new military trail to Eagle, and upgrading work began. Recognizing that Valdez was a strategic location for communications and defense, the Army built Fort Liscum at the site of the present Alaska Terminal, laid a telegraph line connecting Seattle, Washington to Eagle, Alaska, thereby bypassing Canada for the first time, and further developed the Keystone Canyon Trail. The latter, which became the Richardson Highway in 1919, served as the only viable inland route to Fairbanks until the 1920s. This became the first Alaskan highway, and Valdez became the coastal port for the majority of traffic going into and out of the interior. Once the rush to the Klondike subsided, Valdez prospectors concentrated on the gold closer to home. The most profitable gold mine in the vicinity of Valdez was the Cliff Gold Mine, discovered in 1906, about 5 miles east of Valdez on the north shore of Port Valdez. The Cliff Gold Mine resulted in about 51,740 ounces of gold, about $19 million in current prices, and 8,153 ounces of silver. Further away, the Elamar Mine, primarily a copper mine, produced as much gold as a byproduct as came out of the Cliff Mine. Of course, before the stampeders came, native people had lived in the area for thousands of years, and their descendants are still there today. The Valdez Native Tribe was created as a tribal organization of the Native community of Valdez, Alaska. They promote unity, self-determination, and empowerment of the Alaskan Native and American Indian beneficiaries residing in the area of Valdez. Their goal is to provide services that will strengthen, increase opportunities, and enhance the mental, physical, and spiritual well-being of their people in harmony with the land and continue traditional values. At the beginning of the 20th century, Alaska as a destination was due in large part to a little critter known as a sea otter. Russia and a few other nations were having a great economic success harvesting sea otters for their fur. The sea otter harvest was a great boon for the humans, but did nothing for the sea otters. Consequently, by 1903, sea otters were close to extinction, and the state closed the hunting of sea otters. In 1989, the harvesting of sea otters resource was reopened as a subsistence resource for natives. In that period, most natives, having had the sea otter as an historical resource taken from them for 86 years, had forgotten the practical uses of the sea otter. However, several elders still knew the uses from the meat and the blubber to the skin. John Boone of Valdez, a Tlingit descendant, became a teacher of hunting marine wildlife and an advocate of the full use of the resources after capture. He teaches classes at Prince William Sound College and elsewhere on not only the hunting of sea otters, but other marine wildlife, including how to sew skins. He has also started a business as allowed under law. In addition, he is active in the tagging of marine animals and assisting in collecting data for research purposes. His classes are attended by natives and non-natives alike, both kids and adults. Out of his skin sewing classes, several products are produced.
And this is one of the finished products, parkas. And takes about 40 hours to make a parka. And some of the other items that we do make, this is a very popular skin sewing class. And the reason I like to teach this class, it's a teddy bear. And it's about a 5 or 6 hour project for the adults or students. This is a round hat. It's all fur lined. And this is another 5 to 6 hour project that we do on the weekend. And on this one is a trooper style hat. It's very functional for keeping the whole head warm. And looks sort of like this when it's all folded up. Very nice. And this is another 5 or 6 hour class. I sell these for $350 to $400 depending on what I have to put into it. This one has cowhide on the backing for a lining. And this has been primarily the men's hats, but it fits very well, and it's very good for snow machining and dog sledding. And it's a pretty nice project to do.
Prince William Sound Community College, a part of the University of Alaska system, is unique in many respects. No out-of-state tuition. The students live in furnished apartments complete with kitchens, cable television, and high-speed DSL connections. Of course, you still have to study. Degrees are offered in Computer Information Office Systems, Theater, Human Services, Disability Services, and a General Associate in Arts program. And for the hands-on student, the college also offers programs related to industry, oil spill response, safety management, electrical power generation, and millwright. The college also operates the town gym, boasting modern exercise equipment and classes from yoga to tap dancing. And that's just the college. The Maxine and Jesse Whitney Museum, also hosted by the college, is the largest privately owned collection of Alaskan Native arts and artifacts in the world. These authentic items include work by the various Native groups, Eskimo, Tlingit, and Athabaskan. Artwork includes Native carvings from walrus and whale ivory tusk. Other displays are of Native clothing and ceremonial wear made of animal skins, and beadwork, baskets, and masks. The collection is captivating, offering an hour or a day's or more viewing depending upon your interest. For those less interested in art, a large taxidermy collection and historic photos round out the collection. But Valdez doesn't stop there. Each June, the Last Frontier Theater Conference, an 8-day event, invites the submission of new plays from playwrights internationally. New plays are read by actors and receive feedback from theater professionals. Feedback in hand, some of these plays find production around the world. This play lab also offers classes, panel discussions, productions, and a fancy dress gala on the final night. Over the years, this has possibly become the largest cultural event in Alaska. It for certain has created a family of artists in the state, nationally, and around the world. Ecotourism is another beneficial use of the natural resources around Valdez. When Dean Cummings first saw the Valdez area, he was awed by the surrounding mountains that didn't even have a name, and the water flowing from them, and the company H2O was born.
Hi, I'm Dean Cummings. We're here at Worthington Glacier on Thompson Pass, just outside of Valdez, Alaska. The Worthington Glacier State Park, and the reason it's so unique is that it's the most accessible glacier in Alaska. A 5-minute walk from your car, you could be standing right here where I'm standing, and looking at just and feeling the power of this glacier. Just up close and personal. Touch, taste, and feel it. In the wintertime, what I do is we provide heli skiing, in 1.5 million acres. And in the summer, we provide glacier tours, glacier treks, hiking, kayaking, and rafting. So that's where our H2O comes from. It kind of sums it up. We're in the home of water and ice. Years ago when I first came here in 1990, I was flying from Anchorage to Valdez, and I'd traveled the world skiing and racing and had been to what I consider some of the best skiing in the world. And I'm looking out of the plane window, and as far as the eyes could see, it's peaks. And then I get to Valdez, Alaska, and I find out most of these peaks don't even have names. Have never been skied down. And that was the lure. That's what brought me here, and that's what's driven me to pioneer heli skiing in this area. And in Alaska, it's really, this area played the biggest role in skiing. If you want to compare the best to something, Valdez skiing is usually what they're comparing it to. My commitment to skiing started as a young child, and I've went on to make the U.S. ski team and traveled the world racing, and have competed in 20 different extreme skiing contests. And that's what brought me to Valdez, was the World Extreme Skiing Championships. Alaska is just the top of the world as far as how good it is, and people often think that it's just too extreme or too radical to experience, but really it's not. My clientele is anywhere from a 60-year-old businessman from New York City to a ski bum from Vail, Colorado. What we provide is skiing to advanced, intermediate, advanced, and expert skiers, and even the pro skiers come up and ski here. That's for sure. It's the pinnacle of the sport, and not only for the pro but also for the advanced intermediate. The quality of the snow and the long descents. You ski for 4 miles down mountains, and it doesn't have to be steep to be exciting and blow your mind. The Chugach range has so much terrain. It really is nice because it gives you an option of where to ski, where not to ski. And my company has a perfect safety record. It's under my care, I've never even had a client break a finger. And it's a lot of work. What it is it's refining your program year round and doing annual training and having nobody sway you when you make a decision. The saying I tell my guides is, never let anybody guide you. And people have a better time when the guide stays in control of guiding you and showing you a good time, instead of, hey, can we ski that one? Can we ski that one? Hey, we got 6 runs to do today, and it's going to take all day, so just let me take you through the mountains. H2O Guide's summer program is going up on the glacier. We provide short interpretive walks for those that just want to go out and learn about the glaciers, explain to them the glaciology and how these formations created themselves. And then share some Thompson Pass history, all this really rich history that has taken place here over the last 100 years, to glacier trekking, and that's actually putting the crampons on and going up with a guide, and sometimes roped up and sometimes not, depending on how adventurous the group is, and actually trekking right up onto the glacier and going as high up as you want. Sometimes we go up 4 miles up on the glacier. Other times we just take a nice easy day and do a mile. We also provide ice climbing. We climb a lot of the ice you see around here, and that's not just for experienced people or really adventurous people, but just people that want to try something unique. Ice climbing is not as hard as you would think because you're actually creating your own holds. You've got this amazing leverage with these ice tools, and it kind of makes you superhuman in a way. You can actually just climb right up anything with ice equipment. There's lots of whitewater rafting out of Valdez. There's thousands of rivers and creeks. There's Keystone Canyon, which is just really beautiful. Anybody could do it. There's many float trips you could do, which would just be a great day with a picnic and seeing wildlife. And then also there's some of the most incredible whitewater that exists in the world, from 120-foot waterfalls to some of the steepest, most radical rivers you'd ever want to do. But Thompson Pass has Ptarmigan Creek, the Sena River, and there's 3 different sections on the Sena that are doable. The middle section is Class 5 and very difficult, and the upper section is easy. It's a Class 3, and then the bottom section's a really easy Class 3 as well, just a beautiful wilderness whitewater rafting trip. The Mineral Creek river that runs right through town is just a beautiful Class 3 to Class 2 river that anybody could do with a guide. On the lower section, you could do it with not much experience, just a Class 2 river.
Valdez Boat Harbor is the front door to fishing, tours, and recreation of the Prince William Sound. Locals and people from as far away as Fairbanks dock their boat here. You can also book a day's sightseeing tour on a tour boat or a guided or unguided trip paddling a kayak. Of course, Alaska and fishing are harmonious. Climb aboard a fishing charter. From the Valdez Harbor, you can find 5 species of salmon, halibut, 3 types of crab, and several varieties of whitefish. Another docking facility in Valdez is the ferry terminal, right across the inlet from the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline Terminal. In most places in the lower 48, transportation is by land. Well, we do have roads in Alaska, and good ones. However, due to geographical challenges, such as beautiful, steep, unnamed mountains, glaciers, and tens of thousands of miles of coastline, some of our roads are on water. Well, not that we can drive on water, but if you put your land vehicle on a ferry, you are on the Alaska Marine Highway System. We call that a road in Alaska. Since 1963, this road on water serves both passengers and vehicles, serving 32 communities in Alaska and sails as far south as Bellingham, Washington, making stops in Canada along the way. Imagine you want to travel round trip from Valdez to Anchorage. You can travel by water one way and by land the other. For example, take the ferry with or without your vehicle to Whittier. The ferries offer food services, comfortable seating, deck viewing opportunities, and more. Hey, how about this for more? Aboard the ferry, wildlife experts from U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are often on board to share information about the marine life, the birds, the plants, and other wildlife you encounter on your day cruise. From Anchorage back to Valdez is a dry land road trip. This trip on a modern highway nets you the eye candy of Alaska's Chugach Range and takes you to the gateway of the largest national park in the United States, the Wrangell-St. Elias National Park. And before you cross Thompson Pass, you get a personal one-on-one contact with Worthington Glacier, right beside the road. The Alaska Marine Highway System is more than a vacation opportunity. During the past 10 years, it has carried an average of 400,000 passengers and 100,000 vehicles per year. Another benefit of the ferry system is the opportunity to meet not only Alaskans, many who use the system as a regular means of travel between communities, but you may also meet people from all over the world. And here's an inside secret from an Alaskan. In today's fast-paced world, riding on the ferry system is relaxing. From the land to the water, Valdez is surrounded by mountains in the Prince William Sound. Wheels can take you to some scenes, feet to others, but to immerse yourself in the ultimate experience, perhaps a boat with the turning of a screw or the dip of a paddle blade is the answer to your dreams. A dream of calving glaciers, the barking of sea lions, perhaps a sounding whale and cavorting sea otters. These are memories that can be photographed on the timeless lens of the mind. Valdez may be a small fish, but it takes big bites.
For more info about Alaska or our show, check out our website at exploringalaska.com.